This is Chin Music.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Chin Music, hosted by myself, Stephen O'Keefe. 9 tests, 35 wickets at 29, and Moses Henriques, also pretty reasonable test cricketer, not as good as myself. Episode, I can't remember, honestly, because it's been so long between tests. We had a crack at yesterday trying to predict what would happen today. And Moe, the biggest surprise, I think, out of the day was the fact that we saw no Nathan Lyon. I don't think anyone saw that coming. We saw Josh Inglis, into the Australian team. We saw Will Jacks into the English team. I'm a bit shocked. I'm a bit shocked, to be honest.
Stunned, yeah. Definitely, look, not the play I would have made. I was surprised at that. I was hearing some whispers this morning that Cummo was a chance of playing. And then I turned on the telly. I was actually an hour and a half late for the start of the game. That England were 2 for 15 already. And it was Nessa and Starc opening the bowling. I couldn't believe what was going on. I was like, I heard Cummins was going to play, or a chance of playing. And then, then Nessa's in for Gaz. I was stunned. And it's, I don't know if they were trying to do horses for courses because we're up in Brisbane, but I would have thought maybe the Ness would just come in for Doggy, and then Lyon still plays. It was I don't know. It's there's people getting paid far more than I am to make those judgments, but
nah,
you know what? Maybe they shouldn't, Stephen.
Look. I agree with the sentiment. There are people getting paid more than you and I, but I saw what Doggett's workload was and his responsibility during the game, and I just couldn't work it out. He went at over 5 and over. He bowled this. To me, it didn't seem like anyone trusted, and even in the first test, trusted his best ball. Or his job literally was to bowl bumpers with 4 blokes out, short square leg. It was like, this is your job. And then Cameron Green comes on, and it's literally the same job.
Same thing, yeah.
And I'm like, you've got a guy with 500 test wickets. The last pink ball he played at the Gabba, he took 5 wickets for the game. You've got the option of changing it up. And without going too far into the game, because there's so many talking points, like he also speeds up the over rate. It was an absolute piss take watching the game today. I was there. I was so freaking bored, particularly at the back end. It just took forever. Like there was no off spin, no slow bowlers. The keeper was up occasionally to Nisa and whatever else, but it just dragged on. It's obviously not personal. Like they're trying to pick horses for courses, but you go back and you look at Green and Doggett's output for the game, none for 100 off 20 overs, let's call it that. And you're like, okay, I've got Nathan Lyon in the sheds, wasted.
God.
I don't work it out.
Can you imagine what Lino's thinking up there right now with 500 test wickets in his pocket? And a lot of those at the Gabba as well. I can't work it out. And to your point, they've bowled 2 bowlers, 20 overs between them, just pure short stuff. I feel like you only need one of those bowlers in your team. If they're just going to run in and bowl halfway down the wicket, you need one bouncer barrager, and then you still have, a world-class off-spinner in your team. It sort of doesn't make sense to me. If anything, it almost felt like quite a bit of a safe move to shore up Australia's batting because Nessa can bat a bit. So maybe they're trying to, I don't know, sort of match England's move of Will Jacks. I don't know, because Nessa's obviously a pretty decent all-rounder, but I think the call there would have probably been for me, if you're trying to go horses for courses, Nessa comes in and Doggy goes out. And I know Doggy took 5 wickets in Perth, but again, he did rely on the short ball for a lot of those wickets, and maybe that's why they wanted him to play that role here in this game. But I'm shocked at the selection, but hopefully we can still win and get over the line. But I think if I was Nathan, I'd be finding it pretty difficult to sleep.
Oh, yeah, a pretty good poker face. I'll tell you, I went to the game today. I was there at the Gabba, and I went down to the nets and I watched him bowling. He's bowling surprisingly, when Camo was bowling, I'm sure he's probably just whispering in his ear like, "This is an absolute," as you do, maybe you play the long game when you're not picked. You go to the next captain who's going to be back, and he got one smacked at him, hit him in the shin, and he actually had to hobble off. So Bo Webster slug was batting, and he caught one flush, like I'm talking real hard in the front of his shin. I hope he's not injured, but he stopped bowling straight away after it.
Right.
Anyway, side note, he's got a few days to recover and repair because he's not playing. Top of the game, we're all thinking about the Crawley matchup, and what it's like when you play Test cricket, particularly in a series. It's different to Shield cricket. Shield cricket, you face a bowler, and then you don't have to face him for 5 weeks. Zach Crawley, he's had to face Mitchell Starc. He's been knocked over in the first over twice. You can go away as long as you like and have fun and do whatever you want, but then you've got to face him again. And we're all thinking, this first over is a huge moment. He gets away with a nice cover drive, gets a single off the 5th ball. And I think Starkey's plans are amazing. As you've talked about, it's one thing to have a plan, but to execute it was perfect. He bowled back of the length to Crawley, and then to duck it was, got the ball right up there swinging. And, again, 26 times in Test cricket, Mitchell Starc has got a wicket in the first over. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And what a pellet that was as well. Like, if that's not swinging, that's probably hitting leg stump. Late swing, and then probably swinging to outside fourth and a half. You can't blame Duckett for playing at it. Beautiful ball, really nice catch as well. And then I was actually really disappointed with the way Pope got out. I'm a big rap on him. I think he's a really good player, and showed some really promising signs in the first test in Perth without sort of, making a big one. But like, this guy's bowling 145 k's an hour. It's the third over of the game, and you're trying to play like a cut shot. Like, I don't like, yeah.
No, it honestly, it drives me insane. We talked about this last. Like, don't fight the bounce. Like, and none of these balls are hitting the stumps. And you're coming out the third over. You said, and everyone knows, they know this. The pink ball is its most dangerous in those 3 to 5 overs. And Mitchell Starc is. This ball was like, it's nowhere. Like, where are you even trying to run this?
It's like the top of 6 stump or something. It's not quite wide enough to cut. I mean, you could cut it if you stay leg side of it, but like, why are you staying leg side of a ball in the third over? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like watching it.
It's the moment, mate.
You can consider yourself unlucky because you chop on, and another innings that goes to fine leg for 1, and you're away, and you don't talk about it again. But like, why you're even like, I don't know. You just don't see the best players in the world doing that often. I guess Joe did it last game, and then he's come back here, and he's just played an absolute perler. But I kind of want to see Popey do well, so I'm kind of riding him quite hard. But I just think he's a really, really nice player to watch. I just didn't like. I'd love to see him just give himself a bit more of a chance than that.
It's a cruel game, though. Like, as you said, you chop on, and that ball goes to fine leg, you learn your lesson, and then you're probably letting that go. And onto that point, I think Zach Crawley learnt from the first test. Like, it was a really measured innings. Him and Joe Root put on 117 for that third wicket when we all thought this is just on repeat. They were 2 for 5. You just felt the same thing was going to happen. Zach Crawley's going to get out exactly the same way. They're going to go hard at length. And I felt like it was a bit more measured from him, even though he still got 70 odd off 9. He still struck it the same way. It looked different. He certainly had a different game plan where he'd learnt his lesson. And I kind of felt at that stage of the game, it was like lunch on day 2 of the last test. They really were on top of us. And then it was Michael Nisa who cracked the game open with an absolute bludger of a ball, really. It was like, sure, Alex Carey came up for a couple of overs and sort of kept Zach at his crease because I was sort of walking at the bowler and taking that length and line off them and whipping him through mid-wicket. And then he went back and then he got this in-between ball. It was really nothing ball and under-edged it. And I don't know, at that point, I felt like the game again turned on its head. They were so comfortable. You had Root, you had Crawley who'd found his way, who I think, watching Crawley bat, when he's in, he's one of the most beautiful batters to watch. Just doesn't put cricket together, doesn't have that intellect. But he really was, today I thought was his day. But to see him get him out in that way is like no surprise to me.
Yeah, he's a beautiful player to watch. And another guy I really enjoy watch batting. But yeah, I think it's almost, and I don't know if it's that, like, that technique is almost too good that he might nick balls that other people don't, or because he's got all the shots, it's tough for him to make decisions on which ones not to play. But yeah, it's a strange one there. That dismissal was a strange one, and it definitely turned the game on its head. And I think that happened a bit today, where there was another little period there where they're 4 for almost 200. I think 4 for 195, 4 for 190, and then bang bang with a little run out. And then even when Jax and Root were just starting to look like at 6 for 240, 6 for 250, that they still have two pretty good players in there. That it felt like as soon as England were about to take the game away from Australia, then Australia just found a way through, put the brakes on. But then I sort of want to get to that. They're 9 for 260. Right? They go bang, bang, bang. Starc, he's cracked it open again. What an absolute, he's carrying around 26 million people at the moment. He's taken 6 for and 7 for in his last 3 tests, in the first innings. It's just remarkable to watch the consistency of how he's delivering. But we spoke about yesterday on the show about the declaration, trying to work the declarations at the right time. And I actually thought their decision, because, there was about 40 minutes to go, I think, or 45 minutes to go tonight when they took the 9th wicket.
Yeah.
And they could have, they could have just gone, you know what, we're going to send you back in. And I thought, because of the style of cricket that they play, and they want to get on the front foot and attack the game and do all that they were just going to do that. But I actually think, for every over that partnership went on, I was kind of like, you know what, this is, because they would have had, there's a 10-minute changeover, they would have had 35 minutes, which is maybe 7 or 8 overs. Like, you can't you can take 2 wickets maybe, you're not going to do a heap of damage in that time. But if you've only got 260, if you don't take 2 wickets, you can declare. But if you don't take 2 wickets and you come back into the shed and you're none for 20, you're flat as a tack. Like, how flat are you? Like, do you know what I mean? And instead they've gone, well, let's just try and score as many runs as we can in a hurry. Let's just see what happens. They've scored 60 runs off 36 balls. We've managed to bowl 6 overs in 40 minutes in that time. It's an absolute joke.
It's a great point. You've nailed it, right? So they're 6 for 251. They lose their 7th wicket. They lose their 8th wicket for 264 and then 264 again. So they lose 3 wickets for 13. And the England of old, you would think they're declaring. On the back of Australia, the wicket was so flat and pedestrian. It was a Josh Inglis run out and then, a big push and drive again against the wide one in twilight that got the double. Like, how many times in cricket do we say just add 2 to the scoreboard? Literally, England, it happened in a rush. And I agree with you, Mo, that I just felt like a 9 for 264. England of old with Bazball, sort of, let's declare, let's save Jofra Archer from a spell from Mitchell Starc under lights. I feel like there is a bit more nuance to what they're doing. Gideon Hayes said it's Bazball with brains, and this is the first time I've seen it on tour. Zach Crawley, I reckon, has used a bit of brains. Joe Root has used a bit of brains. The tail here, Jofra Archer, everyone's just thinking, comes in, comes out, disinterested. Well, this partnership at the end of the game, they're 74 overs in, they're 325 runs. That score of 264 versus 325 is huge in the context of the game. They're actually backing their bowling attack, even in the best conditions tomorrow, to come out and get the job done, which, I don't know.
They've got an extra 60 runs to bowl at.
Yeah.
So it's I think, I wouldn't have blamed them for declaring. I don't think it would have been a bad move, but I think they've actually made the brave call of batting on and, trying to get as many runs as possible. And they've done a bloody good job of it. And now they can sort of go back into the evening thinking, you know what, that's not bad at all. Like, that's not a bad day. As you said, throughout the day a little bit, the wicket did look like a bit of a batter's paradise, but they've scored 330 runs in 73 overs or 74 overs. It's a disgrace. 74 overs in the day of Test cricket.
I came home, mate, after the last. I missed the Jofra Archer and the Joe Root show. Mate, I was so tired. It is so frustrating. You pick 5 quicks and then you bludger about in the middle of the night because you know, like I do, they do not want to bat at night.
No,
So
they don't want to face the last half an hour under lights.
No.
And it kind of backfired in a way that they're trying to slow the game down. You end up, the bowlers lose a bit of intensity because they're trying to slow things down. And, you know, you actually forget to take the last wicket. It's like,
yeah,
it's just sort of, I don't know.
They really, and it's such an important part because I've played in many games the same way. You do at times lose sight at 8 down. The batters start thinking about batting. The bowlers start, just thinking it's going to happen because it's happened with Atkinson and Cass. This will just happen. And then you've got the experience of Root, who, and we should talk about him and recognise that innings because he's played in Australia, not won a test. I think it's like 29 innings, no hundreds. He's the highest test run scorer that's still playing, but not 100 in Australia. It's funny, high score of 94, I think, and now he's finally got the monkey off the back, so to speak. 135 off 202. I think if he didn't score 100 on this tour, a lot of people would think his legacy would be a bit tarnished, as in like, I don't know, people think about Ricky Ponting in India and he struggled early on, but then made his way. People look at Steve Smith, he scores runs all around the world. That was the last thing I think Joe Root needed to do to everyone to say he's so well-rounded. I thought his innings was amazing. It was a touch of baseball. It was a touch of class. Stayed true to who he was. And, he got the rewards. There was so much pressure. When I was at the ground, he walked out to bat, you could hear the crowd, roots, from the Barmy Army. But it's almost like everything was on top of him. And he never had any experience of having success to that level. And he really did rise, in my opinion. And Mo is good. And he's back. Referral out. Given not out on DRS. Welcome back, Moses and Reeks. I was just...
The beauties of doing podcasts in the laundry, mate. The bloody internet connection.
Oh, mate, I'm in the toilet right now. Yeah. It's my house. Recently married. Mate, I'm just speaking Joe Root's praises. Like, he had so much pressure walking out, hadn't had 100 hadn't won a game, hasn't scored 100 in Australia, and then he comes out and plays that innings, which is a touch of class. The baseball part came into the back end, but you know as much as anyone else, like, it's not just the game, it's the pressure and the weight the game carries on you. But he stood up, he stepped forward, and he got it done today. One of the best hundreds I've seen in Ashes cricket, along with Travis Head. I think because of the weight of a country and expectations, I feel like this is right up there as well.
Yeah, I love watching him play. You don't score as many runs as he has without, obviously being an extremely skilled cricketer and also extremely resilient. And I think that is the point that you're making there about his resilience, especially after that second innings shot over in Perth. And like, he just went back to Joe Root doing what he does best, which is sort of anchoring that team. And he ends up scoring at a strike rate of 65 anyway, but which is still very aggressive test batting. But man, he's just so classy. Great batting temperament, plays all around the ground. And yeah, I know people sort of talk about, he hadn't scored 100 out here. Well, now he has. Now he's, what hasn't he done? He's done it everywhere. And yeah, I as I said before, the first test match was he was probably the happiest batter in that change room that Hazelwood and Cummins isn't playing. And I think we saw a bit of that today, but Barrel has got him at the Gabba a couple of times as well. I think the last Ashes that we played out here. So I just, he's a world-class player. Came in at two for nothing against a brand new pink pellet, sort of absorbed that pressure and then built England an innings basically off his own back with help from Zach, obviously early, but then just anchored the whole way to the end. So he's batted for 6.5 hours today.
Incredible. And yeah, exactly. 6.5 and 74 overs. I doubt he's ever done that before. I think it's amazing. And look, what I like about England is, to me, they are learning their lessons. The most rewarding thing for them would be going in at 9 down, knowing that the bowlers have to go through their preparation tomorrow morning. The Aussie team has to go out and field. The batters have to go out and field. It just extends. And those mental things are important for a team. They're little things, but they're big things in that sense that they have to go and prepare. They have to go and take that last wicket. And there's no guarantees now. You know, Archer's on 32 off 26. Root's in. They can extend and delay. And we know those periods in the game, if they can bat for half an hour or 40 minutes, that means that, you know, when they get the opportunity in twilight, the ball's a little bit newer, not as less soft. And they're starting to win this little battle, which at the end will pay dividends, where you felt like they got the upper hand at Perth. So, I don't know. In wrapping up, Mo, I felt like 400 was a good score. Should have been a good score the way the wicket was playing, the way that England were playing. They're at 326. I think that's a really good effort. Maybe a little bit short of par. I think 350 would have been the score thereafter. Tomorrow, what are we expecting, Mo?
Well, they might still get there.
Yeah.
Like as you said, they might still get to 350 anyway. I think 326 is plenty in a day's play, especially when you only get 74 overs to play with. They've done well to score that many in a day. But, yeah, I think, we'll see what happens tomorrow. And, I think if the wicket, it did look a little benign at times today. And I wonder if that was, the wicket, or maybe we did ask our bowlers to bowl halfway down the wicket for a lot of it. Whether that was a case of the ball turning soft because of how hard we're, thumping it down into the wicket. A lot of the time, it's the old saying of you can only tell how good a wicket is once both teams have batted on it. But yeah, you just never know where you stand in with this English team at the moment. The game changes so quickly, and we saw again today how quickly the game just changed. I thought we were going to go in with a huge upper hand, bowling them out for 270, and now they've got a chance to still make 350. And I reckon they'd be pretty happy with it. If the wicket's a little benign and they don't do early damage, it could spell problems. But 350, you're not out of the game anyway. Or at 250, Australia can score 450, 500, you're out of the game. But at 330 plus, you're in the game now. You've got enough runs. Even if Australia score 400 now, 450, you're still in the game.
Yeah.
So, I think they'd be reasonably happy. The game's moving forward.
It's a great point. And I as you said, 200 when in the last test that Australia needed, you felt like Travis Head said it himself, he could be out for 10 or he could just get on with it. When it gets past 300, you need some batting nous, and England can afford to have a good partnership, see some guys get off to a start, but then they can also claw it back, and it keeps your bowlers connected. The second and third spells from Jofra Archer, I can tell you, won't be at $1.28. They'll be $1.45 because he knows one good spell could really crack the game open. A lead, particularly for for England into the third innings, will be huge. I think they'll learn from Perth. I think we're in for a real humdinger of a game, Mo. We won't get ahead of ourselves. 326. Let's hope Australia's point of view, they can get that last wicket. For England, they want to extend that time and runs wise. And I think we're really in for an interesting day's play. So, Moe, Chin Music, episode 5, 6, 7, 4, can't remember. But stay tuned tomorrow. Fanatics TV on YouTube for a nice sum up. And hopefully a good day for Australia, but I think good day of cricket. We're really looking forward to it.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
That was Chin Music. Like and subscribe for more.